Surely an electrician can't do the job of a carpenter. At least that's what I've been told by many on all social media platforms. So rather than sticking to twisting cables, why don't we give this a go and see what happens. So here's what we're looking at. Here's the rough plans. We've also got engineering plans, but they are a little bit out. The engineer went off the old plans, which don't really line up with the house, which is really strange. I don't know why. So we're just playing ball with what we've got. The easiest way to show you which walls we're actually doing, I've got a floor plan of the bracing. So these white, not the gray, if you can see that, are all the new walls. So what do we got down here through that bedroom? A couple in there, all the way down the hallway. We've got the whole bathroom to basically do, and a little bit into the walk-in pantry. But before I run through everything I did, all the problems, the ways I fixed them, the things I've learnt through this, I just want to say I absolutely loved doing this part of the renovation. I do love working with timber. I've done a fair bit, but nothing to this extent. And I have massive, massive respect for carpenters, especially after doing this. We're rocking the Makita belt at the moment. I bought this as a Sparky to use on site. Used it for a couple of months, was really good, but wasn't really needed full time. I did do a whole rundown on that video of the whole setup. It was pretty big. It actually made quite a few people upset, but all we're running is some bit holders up here. I've got my pencil, I've got the tape measure down here. The bits of box are bits and pieces, nails. We've got a permanent marker, got a square clamp. Then we've got this one, a brand new hammer, S-Wing. I have had this hammer here for 10 plus years, maybe 15 years, the King Chrome. Absolutely perfect for a Sparky, like nice and cheap. It's heavy, works, it's always got the job done. And I had no plan to buy a new hammer, but I did a couple of posts about hammers, just seeing what the differences are. And a mate down the road, Tony, hit me up and said he's got a spare one of these floating around, brand new. So I bought this one off him, and wow, the difference compared to that solid steel hammer, the King Chrome, is absolutely massive. This is a little bit longer, so you can see there how much longer it is. The head's a lot bigger, but the difference is the bulk of this is made of aluminium. So it's just so much lighter. And yes, I know I'm just using the loop as the hammer holder at the moment, but the hammer holder on this bag isn't big enough. So it does fit if you really force it. So that's why we're going with the belt loop. It's the first time I've done that, and that's a banger of a hammer. So before I started putting up the frame, obviously I flicked all the lines on the ground. That way I knew where to put all the frame and know that it's running straight compared to everything else. So the knowledge set that I already had was 450 centers, so from stud to stud. And I knew you had to have obviously a bottom and a top track. One other thing I knew was about your L brackets that attaches to your trusses and your wall. So the main problem was actually finding what they were called. It took me maybe half an hour on Google, and I found out they're called a wall hitch or an internal wall bracket. So I actually ordered a whole pile of those wall hitches and installed this entire wall. But then checking on the engineer's report, they actually didn't want to use those L brackets, which is really unfortunate because they're quite easy to use and I did like installing them. But instead, they wanted shear blocks. So I gave them a call and yeah, they wanted them replaced with shear blocks. So absolute pain in the ass, had to remove them all along here. And this is all you do is block them either side with a piece of timber, and you have to have minimum 6 nails into each one. And this was where problem 2 came up quite quickly. You can see how short they are. They're roughly 150, between 100 and 150 long. If you're putting 6 nails through a piece that small, you're gonna start splitting it. So I had to start upgrading it and going at least 200. As you can see all through here, I've changed it up and they're a little bit longer. So then I started framing up for the sliding cavity door. So if you haven't seen these, you just buy these as a kit. Got it from Bunnings, I think about, was it $200, maybe $180. And it's super basic. You just put the top runner, this part, onto that. You just screw it in, comes with the screws. And all I did was measure from end to end with this piece of trim as well. You gotta buy these separate. I don't know why. So from here to here, on this part is 1600. So I went about 1610. You wanna go a little bit wider because I actually had a little bit of trouble with this one. I probably went a little bit too close, where if you have a look, we're actually hard up here. That's hard up, no packers. As we go down, the frame's a tiny little bit off and there's packers in here. So if you have a look over this side, there's only one tiny packer in there. So I got it extremely close, but it fit pretty well. Then obviously you've got to have your lintel here, which goes over the top. So I just measured to the top height of this once again and just gave it an extra 10 to 15 mil. Pretty good. Now obviously up on top, you want that level as well. I don't know how everyone else is putting up their long walls like this or any frame, but I put it all on the ground, nailed it all up, and then stood it up. When I did this, I just did all the main studs, didn't really think about the joints. So I've obviously got 3 joints, one there, one in the middle, and one down the end. And when there's joints, you've got to think about the plaster, which I didn't really think about at the beginning. And that's why I had to add junctions. I think that's what everyone's calling them, junctions. Actually, here you go. So I've actually forgot it on here. We'll go around the other side. So if you think about it, you're gonna get your plaster onto these walls. So this will go across, and where it comes into the corner, you're gonna have your corner piece, which is behind the gyprock or the plaster, and then you're gonna nail it or screw it into the timber. So along here, you'll screw it all onto here. Look at this, I've actually fully missed one. So there's nothing there. So the gyprock will be here, and you go to screw it in on the corners, and there's absolutely nothing to screw it into. So I'm actually gonna have to remove that and put another stud. Here's one I added. So originally I just had one piece of timber, or did I have 2? I think I had 2. Yeah, I had these 2 here to join that up with that. And then down here, we've actually got 4. So you've got 1, 2, and there's another one there, another one there. So 4 pieces there, and then 1 added there, 1 added there. All this I was fully learning on the way, but then posting this on TikTok, Instagram, heap of people got back to me and said, you need more in that junction. So I upgraded 2 pieces of 300 in there, and down the bottom. Went through, put in some Dyna bolts, 180 mil down into the concrete with some square plates. So I've put them no less than 1200 apart, and in any sort of corner that seems like it needs it.